Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of Pop Review. I'm Sean.
I'm Alex.
And today we're reviewing Fantastic Beasts: Crimes of Grindelwald. Alright, so guys, before we get started, let's just make sure everybody understands that this is a spoiler review. So if you've seen the movie, continue watching. If you haven't, please pause this, go watch the movie, and then come back and sit and enjoy our thoughts.
Great. So, first of all, Grindelwald wasn't in this movie very much.
Not very much, and
which is okay, because obviously this is one of many, but the title is a little misleading.
I mean, I beg to differ. With all the Harry Potter franchise, the subtitle of the movie is what that movie is about, and it focuses on that. Every single one.
But this one wasn't.
Even the first Fantastic Beasts, Where to Find Them, is Newt trying to find the Beast. This one,
was not about the crimes of Grindelwald at all.
I mean,
it was about what is Grindelwald up to. That's what it should have been called.
For sometimes, like, let's check back in. Like, if this was a comedy, it'd be like, hey, let's check back in with Grindelwald while he's doing some things.
What a guy.
I mean, I did like the beginning when he broke out, which was fun. That whole sequence was really thought out. I like the fight choreography. I liked everything, and I also find it very interesting. And if you watched our trailer reviews leading up to this, is that I feel like they did some big time course correction, because we start off in New York,
and we escape. We promptly leave New York.
They never come back to New York, which was like, oh yeah, we noticed you guys didn't like the American parts. Let's stick to Europe. So they start off with New York.
Slow creep back to Hogwarts.
Yeah, it's just like,
what it's up.
Even though most of it took place in France and not at Hogwarts, but it's like, we're not in America. We left.
Just so you know.
So that was very interesting.
Can I just bring up that Grindelwald had a pet bearded dragon that he threw out the window? I have a pet bearded dragon.
Which is kind of weird.
I mean, that's clearly wasn't an actual bearded dragon, but it was an animal that was clearly fashioned from the personality of a bearded dragon.
Like if your dragon was a little mutated, then that's what it would be.
Yeah, like a steampunk bearded dragon. I was really sad about that. He threw it out the window. That's how I knew he was a bad guy. I'm like, shit, man, you threw my pet out the window.
Well, so let's...
Not a good guy.
Well, speaking on that front, one of our concerns earlier from the trailers was Jude Law playing Grindelwald.
I was not... No, you mean Dumbledore.
Oh, I'm sorry, not Jude Law. Yeah, Jude Law playing Dumbledore, yeah, but also Johnny Depp playing Grindelwald.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So what did you think of Johnny Depp? Let's go there first.
Johnny Depp just plays, like, I don't know, there's nothing... I didn't need that. I didn't need Johnny Depp in that role.
No, but I think the worry was that he was going to play it well over the top, and for me, he didn't do that. He played it very...
He's good at that.
Yeah.
But there was nothing, like, really unique about that performance or special or anything.
Well, I mean, but I think he brought to it what it needed to be, because if he would have played it over the top, which was our fear, it would have been way out of place. And that was a lot of people's fear going in. But
the thing is, because it's Johnny Depp, it's always going to be that over-the-topness because it's Johnny Depp. Not because of his acting, but because you're looking at it and it's like, huh, Jack Sparrow. You know, like, there's always... That's why I feel like with these movies, I don't understand why they have to cast, like... They have to cast people like Johnny Depp. Like, give me a no-name actor and I will be just as involved with the story. I'm actually more distracted because it was Johnny Depp. I'm thinking, like, oh, yeah, he beat the shit out of his wife. And, like, you know,
which was, you know...
Like, why... That's not what this is about. Like, I have no stance on that, but... There's those thoughts when you cast an actor like that for a job that could have been done so well by anyone.
Really. Yeah, but I think it's when... With that said, also, I think if you would have done it to the point where you tried to, like, do it kind of like a Jack Sparrow character like that, then it would have been more out of place, and then you're just seeing Johnny. For me, this is my opinion, I think pretty much after the first couple of scenes of him, he kind of lost himself in the role, and I didn't see Johnny anymore. So for me, he did a really good job. Again, I agree with you that did they need to cast Johnny Depp in this role?
I'm not saying he did a bad job. Yeah, he did good.
I liked his performance, but I agree with you that.
But there's no.
Do you need Johnny Depp to play this character?
I don't think so.
No, based on how J.K. wrote it, no. But now that you've cast him, he did a very good job in the role.
Okay.
Jude Law.
Yeah, I think it's great. He has this like sort of mysterious, like, you don't quite know my motives, which is exactly what Dumbledore is.
Yeah.
Which, once again, his personal life kind of, like, creeps in a little bit. Like, because, you know, there's always, I mean, actors like this, there's always, like, some kind of scandal that's, like, really hard to avoid. And you try to push it out of your mind when you see something like this, which is so fantastical. And I did try to do that. There's that part of me that's like, oh, that makes sense. You're just kind of like a little sneaky liar.
Yeah. I mean, that's what the character's kind of always been. Where he's playing chess, everybody else is playing checkers. Like, he's always one step or two steps, maybe even 3 or 4 steps ahead of everybody else. Yeah. And we're all just playing catch-up.
I was on board, though. Like, I thought that was good casting because Jude Law is a pretty person. Like, I like to look at him. You know,
he's all right.
So, well, you know, I'm a straight woman here. I enjoy it. You know, Dumbledore, not a straight man. But,
no.
That's okay. I still have my eyes. But just in terms of, like, the character, I do think that he played it well. Like, this kind of jovial... He's like a Santa Claus character, almost. Like, he's sort of like... Oh, like this mysterious, like, hey, go do this task, bye, and then, you know, holds his nose and goes up through the chimney, and it's like, bye. So, in that sense, I think he really nailed the character of Dumbledore. Yeah. I really do.
Just like Johnny, I wish he was in the movie more. Like, they could have, like, I think one of the reasons why you should cast someone like Jude Law or Johnny Depp in these roles, when you want to utilize their talents, like, we just kind of got,
you're right about
for lack of a better words, we got teased with both Grindelwald and Dumbledore in this, where it just is like, I just want a little bit more of them. And
in this movie, though.
Yeah, in this movie, yeah.
Because I do know, well, as we were talking earlier before we started shooting this, you know, there's going to be how many more movies?
3 more.
3 more? Okay, so we're going to see more of them. So
yeah,
I think there's going to be more chances for them to shine in their respective roles. So,
but I think you wouldn't have lost anything if we got more scenes with them in it. Like, a lot of this movie is just... I enjoyed the movie, but for me, this just felt like a movie that's setting up, if not just the next one, the next 3. Like, it's hard for you to go from the first movie, Fantastic Beasts, to the 3rd one if you didn't watch this one. If you skip over this and go over to the next one, you'd be completely lost, because this movie, there's a lot of setup in it. And I feel like that's kind of just what it was for the most part. It's just setting up and continue. Well, they're expanding more, so we're spending a lot of time in France now. But this movie just felt like a big setup. And it easily could have been called Fantastic Beasts, the setup for the next 3.
Fantastic Beasts, sub with Grindelwald. I still think that's a pretty good title.
I mean, like I said, I enjoyed it, but it just felt like setup.
What I liked more about this one than I liked about the last one just felt like they were hitting home, because, you know, there's literally the book, which original Harry Potter fans know, you know, is a textbook at Hogwarts. You literally could physically buy the book as a fan. Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, which is basically just a dictionary. So there's that, and I feel like the first movie was just like this sort of fangirly kind of like, oh, here's this animal, and here's this animal. Yeah. And it's kind of like, I felt that the plot, it's like the actual important stuff was taking like a second-hand seat, and like all of a sudden we're like in his suitcase, and it's like, look at this animal. Okay.
I mean,
so they got away from that in this one, which there still were beasts, like this Chinese dragon, which is really cool, and Nagini, who is, you know, a maledictus, which I don't know if that actually counts as like a beast, but, you know, sort of in that realm a little bit. So there still were these beasts, but like we didn't have so much emphasis on them. Like, they were part of the story, but I didn't feel like I was being lectured on.
True.
You know.
Is it weird to say that this would have worked better as the first installment than the second installment?
No, I actually think there are a lot of elements to this one.
Yeah.
That cut out so much of the. Could have cut out so much of the fat. Like I was just saying, like cut out the fat, get to the point. This mysterious Grindelwald character. We didn't see him really at all in the first one. We got a hint of his name.
Yeah.
But outside of that, it was just kind of like reintroducing us to the world because we haven't had a Harry Potter. Well, first of all, this is the first departure if you're looking outside of the play that J.K. Rowling wrote after the originals. This is really our first glimpse back into the Harry Potter realm. So they had all this work to do in the first one. So I totally agree with you that so many elements of this second installment really could have just been part of the first one, and we could have saved so much time.
I mean, it's weird because J.K. screenwrote the first Fantastic Beasts in this one, where in the first 8 movies, they're adapting the book into movies, and in this one, there is no book. She's just writing a screenplay. And I'm wondering if these movies would have been different if there was a book first. And then they're just adapting the book into the movie. Because we all know that adapting the book, there's elements and storylines and plot points that are only in the book. They're not in the movie because they don't have time.
There's so many more details.
So I'm wondering if there was a book first, would she have wrote it where she's just trimming... She understands where the whole story is, but she has to trim certain things to get it down into a movie style instead of just writing a movie style first.
I think you're right, and I think this movie suffers from that exact thing. Where she, in J.K.'s mind, and even in like the mind of the Harry Potter fan, granted, I need to brush up because it's been a long time since I read the first 5 books 5 times each. So I was a huge fan at some point, and then I read the next 3, I think 3 times each. But life goes on, and I forgot a lot of stuff, and I think she's taking for granted that not all of us know these Easter eggs. Not all of us know the significance of Nagini. And just like all these small little things that, and even things that I think, I'm like, wait, I think that might matter, but I don't remember. Throughout the whole movie, I'm just kind of like, I think, there's something. Or like Nicolas Flamel, if you didn't really know very much about the series, you wouldn't know that this is the guy that created the Sorcerer's Stone, which is like kind of a cool Easter egg. But even me, I knew that, but I'm also like, wait, well, why does this matter right now? So I do agree with you. I think that if these books were written in a way that all these details were fleshed out a little bit more in the way that they tied to the originals, that this movie would have been very different.
Yeah, because then you could cherry pick that's important in the book. Don't know if that's important in the movie.
Yeah.
So I mean, because I remember. It took me a second to remember Nicholas Flamel. Why does the name sound familiar? Oh yeah, he made the Sorcerer's Stone. So it took, even though there's a total Potterhead next to me. She was like, as soon as she heard the name, she was like, Eee! I was like, well, why did she recognize that name? And then it took me a minute to catch up, oh yeah, that name is important. So I think she is catering to her fan base, which is totally fine. She should do that, but then she has to also remember that not everybody is going to be so stoked and caught up in the lore that
and I was
just can't
too. I care.
Throw out a name and not
help.
just explain it. Yeah, she has to. You can't just assume that, hey, I'm going to throw out a name and everybody's going to be like, yep. Know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
You can't necessarily do that at this point. I think once you get to, Fantastic Beasts 4 or 5, where if you're going to go see that, chances are you've seen all of them, that you can just start doing that. But I'm hoping at that point we're at a different point at that point. But.
Well, yeah, and those moments should be few and far between. They should be what they are, Easter eggs. But it felt like way more than that in this movie. I felt like there were so many little hints of what was and what's to come that's going to be in the Harry Potter books that matters when Harry's at Hogwarts and all this stuff.
Or maybe it's just again more setup. Maybe he's going to play a role in the next movie or 4 or 5, and this is just kind of his introductory into this new world that she's building before Harry, and then he's going to play a bigger role later on. Who knows?
Right, and that's the line that you walk with movies like this, because you're obviously trying to drop these little Easter eggs, which is the fun part, but also, like, if you lose sight of, like, what is this movie about?
Yeah.
Like, what is this movie? Like, towards the end, when we were at the rally, the Grindelwald rally, that's when I was like, okay, I finally have a full sense of what Grindelwald wants and how bad it is, because look at all these people here.
Yeah, and look,
like
the fear-mongering worked.
It had a lot of parallels between Nazi Germany, which I don't think, obviously, none of us are blind to. I think that was pretty apparent, and that's always a really powerful. So it's not. He's not Hitler. He's not America. He's like, I'm this other, more powerful, magical thing, you know, that wants to have this pure blood race and who wants to wipe out. Look at these, you know, nuclear bombs. Like, we can, like, they're inferior. Like, that's actually scary. Like, that was the first time where I was like, oh, I get it. Like, this is actually a threat.
Yeah. And
like, I didn't actually see him as a threat before that rally, which was at the end of the movie. That was the climax of the movie. So I think there needed to be more focus on that as opposed to more focus on dropping these little Easter eggs.
Well, it kind of reminded me in a different way of how when Voldemort came back. Because he came back at the end of that movie.
Yeah.
And kind of just like, well, it made his presence known. I got the same kind of feeling when Grindelwald made that kind of speech where he's making, because we've seen him obviously, and then before Voldemort came back we got teases to him. But it's in that moment where his presence came alive, and he's that fear-mongering of like, look at what they're doing. That could be you in that explosion. We have to band together to get rid of them.
Yeah,
they're not bad. They're just different.
And it's relevant in today's day and age.
Oh yeah.
And, like, I mean, it's our collective consciousness to bring themes of, like, World War II into the forefront. Like, that's our collective consciousness. Like, you don't have to do any explaining when you're trying to do something like that. So I feel like that was a really good choice.
Yeah, but you can take World War II out. You can just import, like, 2018.
Yeah.
Look at this. Look at them.
Yep.
Look at the others.
Yep. Not
it's
wrong.
just like, you know, prying on people's fears is a very powerful thing, and then depending upon who's doing that, could easily manipulate you to do anything you want. Because look at
Queenie.
Queenie, yeah, like she really loves I can't remember Jacob, yeah. But then she got her mind is twisted in the fact that she wants to be with him, and now she's like, how far is she willing to go to get that? Is to kind of, for lack of a better word, turn to the dark side. That
still was like a question in my mind, like, was she really actually that devoted to, we need to change this? Because they didn't build that character up enough in the sense that I felt like that was a natural transition for her. I felt like it was more like she was under a spell.
Well, I mean...
So I feel like that was a mistake. I don't know if there were scenes that were cut out in the writing process or in the shooting process, but I don't feel like... I think she's smarter. Like she comes off ditzy,
she jumps
but like
to that too quickly.
Exactly. I feel like she's smarter than that, and it did feel a little like it was a trick, like someone was controlling her. So that didn't work for me, and you know, maybe that is the case. But
I can understand how she got there. Maybe. Because she really wants to make it work. That's kind of why she hypnotized him at the beginning.
Yeah, because she's just also like... She's not stupid.
No, she's not.
She's ditzy, but she's not stupid.
I agree, she's not.
And we did leave her in that room where we don't really actually know what happened in between Grindelwald walking in, threatening her, and then we kind of don't see her again.
True, you know? until we get back to the...
Exactly.
Into the ballroom.
Exactly.
Well, not ballroom, but the
rally.
Speech.
Yeah.
Or, you can call it a rally, yeah. So, what about Newt Scamander? How do we feel about him?
Lame.
I mean...
Weird and lame.
They got rid of that stupid thing with his voice, which annoyed me from the first one. But for me...
I don't know.
Like, he's the center.
But why? He's such dork.
And he's good. And J.K. said she said he's going to continue to be the center for the next 3, if we get that far, which we probably are. But for me, I don't feel the connection to him like I felt with Harry or Hermione or any of those characters, where you lived and died with everything they did.
I know, but
with him, for me, he's just moving the story along. He's not as much. I'm not invested in him as much. He happens to be there,
and he's the animal guy. But outside of that, why should I care about this person? And like the thing you said about caring about Harry and his friends, it's like it's because they actually built this really special relationship over the course of 7 books, but also movies, or 8 movies really when you look at it that way, because the 7th one was broken into half.
Yeah.
I don't feel like these characters are being built, this connection's being built in a way that I care about. And I don't know if that's because they're adults now, because they're catering to an older crowd, they're catering to the older fan, and so maybe, adults, we don't go to school together, they don't work together, so what kind of connection can they really form?
I don't know,
But it is missing that magic of the Harry, Hermione, Ron thing, where they hated each other so many times, but they also just couldn't separate each other from each other.
Yeah, but it doesn't have to be exactly like that, because it's mostly just
That's why I use the word magic, no pun intended. Like it really just doesn't have that.
He doesn't, and I think the franchise would work better if he was written differently, because the way he's written now, I don't. Well, I'm not as invested in everything if he lived or died or what he's doing.
It's true, and I honestly do think that that's going to change, because at the end of the movie he hugs his brother and he says, "I chose a side," because he's always been sort of hands off, like I don't care, I just care about these animals, and I have a crush on this girl. I don't really care. I don't choose sides. But then at the end of this movie, he hugs his brother and he says, "I chose a side." So we might actually start seeing more from him in terms of his agency.
Maybe.
Than we have, because he finally figured it out.
Well, it could be, and we could use another Harry Potter reference. After Chamber of Secrets, the franchise kind of takes a turn with Prisoner of Azkaban, where it gets a little darker and grittier.
Yeah.
And maybe after this one, maybe the next one, because now is kind of more of a divide, and we're not sure, what Dumbledore is going to do, what Grindelwald is going to do, what Newt is going to... Like, we don't know... Because everybody has kind of picked a side, like you said. Maybe now this is where maybe Newt kind of, I don't want to say grows some balls, but just like comes more,
destiny.
Yeah, exactly. Where like he's famous by the time Harry comes around.
Yeah.
And his legacy lives on. Like it's the 54th chapter by the time Harry is in Hogwarts. So he's a big deal. But as of right now, his big deal is destroy half of New York, which they kind of made fun of at the beginning of the movie too.
Can we jump to talking about the Lestrange family and like kind of what that was all about, like Letta and the whole we swapped babies? And
yeah, I mean, I was wondering where they were going with that, and then it
was so long-winded, and I still didn't get anything out of it.
Well,
I don't know.
It just took a long, like that whole thing. I can see, again, back to my original thought earlier, was that could play out in the book, where you needed to be a little bit long-winded. In the movie, it didn't need to be.
Yeah.
Like that whole thing took maybe like 20, 30 minutes, and it's just like, all right, come on.
Yeah, what is it? Who cares?
Like I get, like we get the final reveal at the end, like what it actually meant.
Yeah, but also like I don't care about Letta. I know that like Newt cared about Letta and his brother cared about Letta, but I don't care about Letta.
Well, they tried to make you care.
They tried, but it just did not work. Like I just didn't care about her enough. Like we didn't see her enough in action. We didn't actually see her make any difficult choices. She kind of just went sort of with the flow and whatever.
We got a little bit of her backstory, but that still wasn't enough. I know, we got like a little backstory,
but no, that was not enough. And like the one thing that I thought was really cool was this family tree. It's like, he only recorded the men, and the women were just flowers. Like that actually is kind of a cool as a woman watching a movie like this, a period piece, you know, that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, oh, okay, so is she mad? Well, what is the point, though? Like, you said that, and I'm like, oh, I'm, like, into it now, because, you know, it's like, yeah, I get it. Like, women were erased from history in a lot of cases, especially, you know, they were only looked at as reproductive, like, flowers, right?
Yeah.
So it made a lot of sense in that moment, and then I'm, like, waiting. I'm like, where's this going to go? And then that was it. Like, it was just, like, oh, like, my dad was sexist, and that's kind of it.
And they try to kind of redeem her, but
they didn't do it right. I don't know. There was too much. They bit off a little bit more than they can chew, and they allotted it in sectors that were not appropriate.
But again, I think as a book, I think that whole thing would have worked. In a movie, I just think it was a little bit of too long-winded with a character that we didn't know too much. If just by the movies we didn't know too much about, and then you're just putting the spotlight on her. So I don't know.
And just going back to the woman thing, like, that would have been really poignant. That would have been a really good choice to make in this day and age if you wanted to actually kind of draw that through line between all of the other female characters and, like, how they're viewed as, you know, worthless, or how they don't really have any agency or whatever. Like, that would have been a really interesting, even if it wasn't the focus of the movie, it would have been an interesting, like, sort of B-plot through line of how, like, the women don't have any agency in the story. That would have made the family tree thing be like, oh, yes, that's the story that I've been watching. I get it. I understand the pain. But it came out of nowhere. It's like, yeah, he only recorded the men. Women suck. It's like,
but then it's also interesting down the road. We know that Beatrix, you know, marries into the family.
Yeah.
And
I mean, obviously, there's a lot of questions about that, which I'm sure we will.
Well, we don't know. We don't know. I hope so. So obviously, you know, after the speech, we get, you know, the reveal that Dumbledore has a brother. Didn't know he had a brother.
Yeah.
Didn't know.
George Dumbledore. I can't remember his name right now. I don't know. George sounds good, though. George
That's fine.
Dumbledore.
Well, I'll just call him Dumbledore's brother.
George.
So, I mean, I understand. I'm curious where that's gonna go, because obviously, and in the trailers we got the line where it's like, "Oh, I can't move on Grindelwald." We were curious, like, "Well, why can't he?" And now we know why he can't.
Blood pact.
They have a blood pact, so they can't hurt each other.
Now we have a blood pact.
Yeah, so I can't hurt you. Even though I wouldn't anyway. But we now know that that's why he couldn't move, and then now we also figure out, well, now Grindelwald is probably going to try to use his brother to move on on Dumbledore. So that's where and J.K. said that these next 3 movies are going to build up towards Dumbledore versus Grindelwald. So we're going to get more of that.
Yeah, and I wish that they had built that up in a way that I cared a little bit more.
I think there were
just so many characters that we were trying to, and storylines we were kind of trying to follow. Like, I actually was really more interested in, like, Nagini and, like, what her story was and what her role is going to be. But like you said, this is, like, a very middle movie, so I'm just going to try to hold my tongue and view it as a middle movie and know that these things are going to kind of come to fruition. It's just, it felt like a lot of loose ends for something that didn't have a book to tie it together. Like, this is just... I mean,
if this franchise, like, God forbid this franchise got canceled, which it's not, then people are like, no, I don't know what's going to happen. We're getting the 3rd one and the 4th one. So...
But the Niffler!
So we're going to... A lot of the stuff that they set up is going to pay off. How? Couldn't tell you. I like the fact that he gave him the Phoenix. That was pretty cool.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Fox was just a little, big, tiny little bird, a phoenix. And then it's like...
Anything else you want to talk about this movie?
I mean, I'm sure there's things I'm going to think about later, but I can't think of anything right now. I just kind of want to talk to you guys about it because I'm just a little rusty in terms of my Harry Potter mythology. So I'm sure there's a few things that we actually missed.
But I mean, even as someone who's like, I didn't read the books, I just seen the movies. I'm enjoying the franchise at where it's going. Not again, if J.K. could have done things differently, I might be enjoying it a lot more. I'm not enjoying this franchise as much as I enjoyed the Harry Potter franchise. I'm pretty sure I'm not alone in that fact. But
yeah, well, this movie I enjoyed watching it more than I did the first one because
yes, me too.
The first one did the hard work of having to reorient everybody with the world and the spells and the. It's like who are these characters? And it's like, okay, now I know everybody's name.
Yeah.
Like, I'm starting to care a little bit about like Jacob. And
she tried too hard in the first one. I think she made it harder on herself.
Yeah.
All right. With that being said, let's just wrap it up and give it a score.
6 out of 10 nibblers.
Nibblers?
Is that not what it's called?
I
think it's a nibbler, right? The little platypusy little guy who looks for gold and shiny things.
I know he was a fan favorite in the theater. I'm debating between 6.5 or 7. Because
it's hard.
It wasn't a bad movie.
It's not a standalone movie. It's part of a greater good.
Yeah.
So
it's like reading. It's like reading a chapter in a book.
Yeah.
It's like I know there's gonna be a next chapter.
Yeah.
And I read the first chapter.
Yeah.
But I read chapter 2, so I'm in a good mood. I'll give it a 7, because with the fact that knowing there's a chapter 3 coming, I'm okay. If not, score would have been way lower.
Great.
But you heard what we thought. What do you guys think? Let us know in the comments below. Did you like this one? Are you curious to see what JK's got cooking up for the next one? What's the next one gonna be called? Hopefully whatever it's called, the movie's actually about that. Because Grindelwald didn't do a lot of crimes in this. I thought he was going to be
Fantastic Beasts and the things that Grindelwald does next.
I thought he was really going to be wrecking shop, but...
he didn't.
Besides breaking out of prison, he really didn't do a lot of stuff.
Yeah, the title's really misleading. I stick by that.
His goons killed more people than...
It should have been like Grindelwald and the effective rally that he drew.
Which was really effective.
Yeah.
But what do you guys think? Did you like the rally? Did you like Newt's commander? About Dumbledore? What about his brother? So many things. Let's start the conversation below. Also like, subscribe, do all those great things. Also ring that bell so you're notified when we do the next review or the next trailer review that we do. But until then, I'm Sean.
I'm Alex. Thanks for being here, you guys. Avada Kedavra. I killed you all.
Sorry.
Oops.